Morning.
First of all, it seems to have healed up quite well.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing on my face at all. No, it's doing well. I think the surgeon he did quite a good job, so I think everyone's quite happy.
Were you worried at all that it was going to be?
Nah, I've had cuts before, I've had scars and so on. It's an occupational hazard, I guess. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
The last match, the Crystal Palace defeat, the performance was quite widely criticised. As players and as a squad, do you feel you sort of owe it to yourselves and to the fans to perhaps get that performance out of your system?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Although in the game itself, for the first 15-20 minutes, I felt that we were quite comfortable. I remember looking up at the clock, I think it was 19 minutes gone, it was 0-0. And I thought, okay, we're in this and we're feeling all right. And then 10-15 minutes later, we were basically 3-0 down. So the performance wasn't great from that point, but then I think as professionals, you always want to do better, and we expected to be involved in that game for a lot longer, and to maybe have a chance of winning it. And for that to go away so quickly, it was a disappointment. But thankfully, there's another game coming up.
Just one win in the last 9 matches. Is it becoming increasingly difficult now to convince yourselves that you can turn this round, that you can stay up in the Premier League?
No. Well, not for me anyway. I don't know what goes on in other people's minds, but for me, this situation is very similar to what it was when we stayed up 2-3 seasons ago. We're going into games knowing that we had to win, especially games at home, and we ended up beating Spurs, beating Arsenal, and that's what was required at that time. So I have belief that we can do it because, as I say, I've seen it before.
You've seen it before. You said that was required last time. You look around the squad now. Do you feel that fight is still there, the quality is still there, that you can pull out those sorts of results in the remaining?
Yeah, I totally believe that. I think in the start of the season, we were playing a lot of the top sides. Whenever we played them at home, it was very difficult for them. I think we got a few results. Maybe we deserved a few more, but when you play well against those sides, it does give you confidence, and we know that we've done that before, so there's every chance we can do it again.
What was it on that occasion when you managed to turn things around that inspired that change? Was there something that was done differently? Was it the players got together? Is there something that can happen between now and the end of the season that can change things in that manner?
I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was, other than the fact it was just sheer necessity. You were going into games not thinking that, if you lose this game, you've got the chance next week, and so on and so forth. It's just a case of this is the most important game now, and you have to win it to stand a chance. Even, I think our last home game that season was against Stoke, and we knew that unless we won, we wouldn't have a chance going into the last week of the season. And then we managed to win, and then go into the City game, which is obviously a crazy game. We ended up we lost, but we stayed up because of the fact that we won against Stoke. So, as I say, necessity is a big thing around this time.
Is the onus then on players such as yourself, and some of the other guys who were around at that time, who are still here, to really take the lead now and say, look, we know how this was done, we know that we've done it before, and perhaps stand up in the dressing room and the others come with you?
Perhaps, but then there are other players. There are a lot of very experienced players. Say even Rio, for example, he's never been involved in a relegation dogfight before, but he's been fighting for titles at this point in the season, and he knows himself the importance of winning games every single week, and especially come the end of the season. So I think other people from their past experiences, although they might not have been so specific as being in this situation here, I think they do know what it's all about come this time of the year.
The manager's tried a few different ways of finding a solution since he's been in charge. He's brought back players who were perhaps on the fringes before. He's given some youngsters go. Is that difficult for players that you're still trying to find a formula at the moment, and perhaps systems and personnel changes each week, and that doesn't necessarily help?
I wouldn't say it doesn't help as such, because I think one of the differences from the previous managers to this one is that more people feel involved. So as a consequence, there's more competition for places, and I think that's why he's able to make changes on a week-to-week basis, whereas I think a few months ago, 1 or 2 people never really stood a chance. But I think provided you're up for selection and you're giving it your all, then come Saturday, Sunday, whenever you play, the manager's going to pick the best team he thinks in that moment can achieve the 3 points or can achieve the win. So, as I say, although it does change, I think he's picking it based on what he thinks will work for that Saturday.
The manager, when I've spoken to him recently, said 37 to 40 points he thought would be what you need to be sure of safety. Given how things have gone recently, do you think you'll be able to get up to that total, or are you now hoping it's going to be a lower total than that will keep sides in the Premier League?
Do you know, I don't know. I'm not great at sort of predicting / forecasting what it's going to be to stay up, but I think of all the sides in the bottom 4 to 6 and so on, it's just a case of achieving more results than whoever's below them. So wherever it comes down to, I just hope that we end up on the right side of it.
You will now be relying on other teams though, because it's out of your hands. So does that mean that you will be keeping an eye on how the other teams are faring and maybe willing on certain results? Because the manager said before that you're just focusing on yourself, but you can't do that now.
Well, you say that, but I think in some ways you sort of have to, because it's I've been here 4 seasons now. We stayed up, we went down, we came up, and now we're here again. So I've seen a few stressful times around this time of year. So I've seen in the first season where you're in control of your own destiny. Then the next season we rely on other people. And to be honest, the big thing for me, especially at this time of year, is that I don't really watch to see how other teams are doing. I just see how we're doing. If we're in a good vein of form, if we're winning games, if we're doing well, then more often than not that looks after itself. And things may go against you down the line, but you have to maintain your focus and keep doing what you're doing, because the last thing you want to do is to see, say, a team win on a Saturday at 12 o'clock, and all of a sudden you think that your chances are over come 3 o'clock on that game. You just have to make sure you do what you do.
I guess belief is key at the moment. Is there still strong belief in the camp that you can stay up?
Yeah, most definitely. To be honest, I think if the belief wasn't there, then people just wouldn't turn up, people wouldn't try, but everybody here wants to be in the Premiership next season.
And looking at Everton, Romelu Lukaku is in pretty decent form at the moment.
Oh, is he? No, I'm sure he is. He's a big signing for them in the summer, and I think he did well the season before as well. So strikers are always going to be in good form, aren't they? And hopefully it can just be the defender that stops him. And
just finally, the Palace game, disappointed with the defending in the first half, because as you said early on, you were sort of in the game, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. It was very disappointing, but it's just, I think that's the way the Premier League goes sometimes. You can be in something and then a few mistakes later, the game's completely gone. And, that's such a shame, because we're not the type of team that will, if we're 3-0 down, we'll win 4-3. So we have to try and keep it as tight as we can, maybe win 1-0, 2-1, things like that. But I think that amount of mistakes in a game isn't really acceptable.
Now that you've talked about being on edge during your time here, is that good preparation for the end of this season compared to some of the other teams that may be panicking at this stage?
Perhaps it could be. Some people, you can say that they're scarred by the 4 years that they've been here, because it has been so emotional. But I've felt it before. I've felt the different outcomes and so on. I can tell people about how it feels and what is required at this time of year. But then also, I think other teams have got the power of youth, so they don't fear anything at all. But yeah, I suppose it's having the experiences is a good thing in some ways, but a bad thing in others.
You see Everton beating Newcastle and what that does for them, going into the European games. Is that what you need, that win that will just sort of propel you forward?
Yeah, most definitely. I think it has to start somewhere. Hopefully it can start on Sunday, because we do need to not just win one game, we have to win a few games, maybe a few games back to back, and then before you know it might start affecting a lot of things further down the line.
What about them travelling? I mean, they've got to come back from Kiev, obviously.
When I was younger, actually, at Manchester City, we got to the quarterfinals, I think, of the Europa League, and it's hard playing the Thursday, Sunday, but it's not impossible, so in some ways it might help us, the fact that they've had a game a few days before that was a long way away, but as I say, it's definitely not a banker at all.
And Charlie may get a call up potentially this lunchtime for England. Do you think he deserved that?
Well, to be honest, having looked at the scoring charts, there's Diego Costa, Aguero, Kane and Austin, so if he was to be selected, can't really argue about it, can you? Because he's the top 4 scorers in the Premier League, so I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, will you watch the Everton game this evening?
Will I? What time's it on? 8 o'clock. 6. If it's a 6, there's a better chance. 8 o'clock's quite late for me. Yeah, I will watch it. I do like watching the British teams in Europe, and they need to get a good result over there as well. So I will watch it, not necessarily from a scouting perspective, but just because I've watched them throughout the season anyway in Europe, and it's I quite like Everton, they're a nice club. So yeah, I will watch the game. Maybe if I can pick up anything for Sunday, then that'll be even better.
Throughout the season, I always watch the club's social media and some of the players' stuff, and they always draw attention to how you're the big man in the gym and the strongest. Are you looking forward to the physical battle that Romelu Lukaku poses? Well,
he's bigger than me, so if I manage to, outmuscle him or anything, I suppose that means that I'm pound for pound champion of the world. So yeah, no, he is a big guy, guy, young guy, and he's a nice guy as well. He's not too aggressive with it, and it's the type of thing which you look forward to, the type of battle you look forward to getting involved in, if selected, of course, and same for him. So if I do get the chance to play against him, hopefully I can do well.
You mentioned your 4 seasons being really erratic, being up and down. There's been a turnover of managers and the players. It's a bit of an erratic club, and you always come across as so calm and methodical. How come you've been such a good fit for these 4 seasons?
I've been such a good fit. I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's just I signed for 4.5 years, and the aim was to be in the Premiership for those years. So in the first year we achieved it. The second year we didn't, but then in the third year I wanted to get back into the Premiership, and that's where we are now. And now we're in the Premiership. We're fighting to survive and spend one more year in the Premiership. So, my overall thinking hasn't changed, and I may appear calm, but I'm sure deep down I'm actually a little bit crazy for the 4 years that I've been here as well. But no, it's been enjoyable. It's never been boring. Let's say that.